We've been having a lot of really good conversations recently around World of Warcraft as we have gotten our guild up and going, and we're looking ahead towards the Worldsoul Saga, which I'm treating as a single entity rather than individual expansions for what we're getting ready to do with our community going into that game. And I'm unique in a lot of ways because I don't have the baggage with World of Warcraft that a lot of people have because I haven't played it a lot over the years. I only have a few months, I can think about 6, 8 months in total into Classic, and only about 2 months into the retail experience over the entirety of the game's history because I was always busy with EverQuest 1 and 2. And I've had some people ask me recently, why don't you keep playing EverQuest? Why aren't you still playing EverQuest 1 and 2 on your channel? That used to be a big thing when your channel was in its infancy. And that's an easy question for me to answer because the game just doesn't offer anything modern in terms of the experience. I'm a big fan of looking forward, not looking back. And when you look at the modern World of Warcraft retail experience that I've been streaming over the past few weeks since I decided to really, sink my teeth into it, it has all of these amazing modern quality of life features that the EverQuest 1 expansions don't offer or the progression servers themselves don't offer. And I have had good fun going back with friends over the years playing the EverQuest 1 and 2 TLCs, TLPs, whatever you want to call them over the years. But at the end of the day, I made a conscious decision at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, that I was no longer going to put any more effort or time into games that don't respect my time as a player. And ultimately, that's really what you're looking at with these old school MMORPGs is they just don't respect your time. And that's because if you look at the way those games were developed, they were designed in a different time, a different era when the mechanics were a lot simpler, not because they were better, but because we didn't know any better. We didn't have the mentality that we have in 2023 of what is a good quality of life feature. I just flat out refuse to play games anymore that don't offer me cosmetic options for my character. If I can't make my character look the way I want my character to look, I don't want to play your game. I do not want to have to be limited to what you get is what you wear. I don't agree with that. If a game doesn't have a modern matchmaking system, I don't want to play it. And that's something that some people who've been around for a while will say, hang on a second, Tim, when you were developing the Saga of Lucime 10 years ago, you were very staunch in the fact that, you didn't like the matchmaking systems because you had these ideas of what it did to socialization of games. I have changed my viewpoint on that. Why? Because I'm an adult and I use my brain and I use logic. And as I have matured as an adult, I have changed my opinion on many things, which adults do and should do on a regular basis. That's part of evolving as human beings is realizing that some things are better left in the past and we're better off moving forward and looking forward. The easiest example I can give is someone said that one of the reasons they hate fast travel in MMORPGs and one of the reasons they love playing like old school EverQuest is because they love the boats and fast travel makes the world too small and you don't have time to socialize and everything else. I just don't agree with that. Boats are a waste of time. I should not be required to spend 30 to 45 minutes doing nothing and sitting on a boat socializing with people. Why? We live in 2023, 2024, etc. I can socialize in Discord with people while I am playing the game and making forward progress on my character. I do not need to sit on a boat and type by hand. The argument that I always love to point out to people is, if you want to take a wooden boat and travel from New York to London because that's the best way because it's the nostalgia way and etc. You do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to be up in the air in my private jet, touching down in 45 minutes with a champagne in my hand. And in the 3 months that it takes you to cross the sea, I will have made that. I would have traveled across the sea 500 times and accomplished 500 things more than you will have done because I progressed into the modern era while you remained stuck in the past like a Luddite. And I think that that's something that's very, very key for me in my evolution as a gamer is just that I don't want to be stuck in the past anymore. And when I look at what modern MMORPGs are offering, not just World of Warcraft, but also, we've got games coming up like PAX Die and Dune Awakening. There's all of these 2024 games and beyond that have modern quality of life features. We have modern graphics. We have matchmaking systems. We have tools to make the progression of your character better. We're not dealing with XP loss and stupid things like corpse runs and losing all of your items. Instead, we have games that, again, it goes back to respecting your time as the player. I like games that make my experience more fun. And one of the things I was really excited to hear about with the Worldsoul Saga in particular was everything they're doing with war brands and how they are taking in World of Warcraft, like all of your faction now, all of your reputation is going to be combined into your account now. So instead of having to go grind reputation on each individual character to get your factions up, once you've done it on one character, you have it on all your characters. Oh, you want to transmog? You want to get all those cool outfits for your characters? Guess what? You can do that with any character now. You run the dungeons, you go get the thing. Once it's been transmogged, it's once you've gotten it at Soulbound, it's added to your account. That's now an account-wide transmog. Going and looking at things like the fact that modern World of Warcraft is designed as a single-player RPG with group-based aspects to it appeals to me in a way that EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2 are never going to do. Maybe EverQuest 2 to a lesser degree because they do have a lot of single player content, but EverQuest 2 doesn't. And none of these indie MMORPGs that are in development haven't done that. They're decrying how the group, it's got to be all about the group experience. You need it. And the reason those games only have 30 to 50 people playing them or a few hundred people interested in them is because they're not respecting the player's time and they're still remaining stuck in this 1999 mentality of we're going to make progression hard and difficult and you got to work together and you got to talk to people. Rah. You can talk to people in Discord. You don't have to have these archaic old systems. You don't have to talk to people. If your programming team can't figure out how to get a matchmaking system into your game, then maybe they shouldn't be programming in the first place because that's just a thing that needs to be in every game. And if your team doesn't think that their game needs a matchmaking system, then they probably need to take a hard look at whether or not they're stuck traveling on a wooden boat, spending 3 months crossing the ocean when we could all be enjoying the jet experience and getting from point A to point B more quickly. Um, Someone said something the other day that I think has resonated with me about how they think that the overland content in World of Warcraft in modern games is too easy. What's wrong with it being easy? What's wrong with me being able to log in and make really good forward progress with my character? That's a game that's respecting my time as a person. I'm paying them money to get enjoyment out of a game and to make forward progress and to be able to see that progress happening in real time instead of being punished for I think one of my favorites has always been when people say that there should be XP loss and item loss. And I always say, well, what about the power outages? What about hurricanes? What about tornadoes? What about internet outages? What about my cat had an emergency, my dog had an emergency, my kid had an emergency, my spouse had an emergency, and I got to run away from the computer. And suddenly I'm in a dungeon and I die, and now I've lost my corpse and I've lost my items or I've lost XP. I'm being punished for something that is out of my control. And I will always hear back from these ridiculously naive people who support that kind of content and say, well, then you should get a better internet connection, or when you're sitting down to game, it should be all about that, and those types of things shouldn't crop up, and oh, that's just not realistic, blah blah blah. Yeah, it is realistic. It's life, and a game should respect my time. And I find that quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. World of Warcraft Retail does a really good job of respecting my time. Not only that, but they have amazing features like cinematic cutscenes and voiceovers and just so many features that make it a modern experience that is worth my time. I'm also a big fan, if you've ever watched me play, I love Star Wars: The Old Republic as an example, because I think they are a great game. They're a lot like World of Warcraft retail in a lot of ways, set in the Star Wars universe, and it plays a lot like modern retail World of Warcraft. You've got scaling dungeons. That's one of the big things for me is being able to know that I can, in World of Warcraft retail, Star Wars: The Old Republic, I can join a matchmaking queue and immediately be grouped up with people to go do a dungeon, and it doesn't matter our levels. It scales the dungeon to us. That is something that is huge to me, to be able to know that I can immediately jump in and do content with people, other people. What is wrong with a matchmaking system that scales levels? There's nothing wrong with it. The reality of that is there's nothing wrong with it because it's exactly what everyone claims they want, which is group-based content. It's giving us group-based gameplay. And on top of that, when you have a game that has amazing cutscenes and voiceovers and cinematic gameplay experiences, that is far more immersive than a game that doesn't have any of it and forces you to be in this text-based old school format where you're actually not immersing yourself in the world because you're just staring at walls of text in a way that these cinematic experiences bring you into the game at a far deeper level. And again, it's about respecting my time. I want a game that's going to give me all of those things, give me the modern experience. So it's an interesting thing with World of Warcraft that it's a 19-year-old game coming up on 20 years, but they have managed to continually innovate and make the game more modern while also simultaneously offering a classic experience that offers the old school players a touch of what the game used to be like, but also with a modern twist. Because the hardcore experience, the hardcore experience, the classic experience that World of Warcraft is offering is modernized. So it's not quite like it was back in the day. Whereas, say, the EverQuest progression servers are trying very hard to recreate that exact experience, but they do have some quality of life features, enhanced XP and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, um, what it really comes down to is I have no desire to go backwards anymore. I'm only looking forward. Especially, this is my job now in terms of providing a living for my wife and I and our homestead and the cats and everything else. And so I've looked at, you look at the channels that are focused on being stuck in the past. There's a finite audience for that. It's the same reason all those indie crowdfunded games kind of either run out of money. They talk about how the crowdfunding is dried up, they fail, so on and so forth. There's a finite audience of people who want those types of games and want to remain stuck in the past, whereas there's a modern audience that loves all the new games that are coming out. And so as I look to the growth of my channel for 2024 and beyond, and working towards 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and getting Twitch partner now that we're multi-streaming, it's all about looking forward, not looking back. And for me, the World of Warcraft retail experience, the Worldsoul Saga, that is looking forward. It's a game that respects my time, gives me a cinematic playstyle experience. I'm able to do things with my friends at the drop of a hat. We can do all these different things with the warbands and the delves and the scaling, and it's easy to just jump in and do things immediately without needing to spend a lot of time, losing XP, doing corpse runs, losing items, being punished for things that are out of our control. I just don't care for that kind of stuff anymore. And I did get a lot of enjoyment out of it for many, many years, but I'll be the first to admit that I would argue the past 4 or 5 years that I've played the older MMORPGs and gone back into the progression servers, it's mostly been about having an experience with my friends as opposed to really enjoying those games. Because the reality is I played those games 20 years ago and I got the enjoyment out of them then. And going back and redoing that content over and over and over again, it was okay to do for a few times, but the last couple of times I just really didn't enjoy it at all because I was really only doing it for the people, not for the actual experience. And I'm no longer willing to do that. The game must respect my time as a player for me to be willing to play it. And so far, World of Warcraft has provided that for me. And it's one of the reasons I will never go back to EverQuest or EverQuest 2 ever again. Done and gone, everybody. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to know more. You can join us on the Moonguard server if you want to come play World of Warcraft with us. There is a channel set up in our Discord where we're talking about it more. Look forward to hearing your thoughts down below. And until next time, everybody, stay safe. Happy gaming.